If you want to know what someone truly believes, look at what they write when no one's watching. As the world reacts to the film this weekend, his private handwritten Bible study notes Hollywood missed. We're going to walk through what he possibly was discovering, but the very last line is what honestly surprised me the most. Some may know that Michael had a habit of reading the Bible. Late at night, after the rehearsals and the interviews, he'd sit alone with the Bible and he'd find God quietly, the way some of us can only when we're alone. I know what it's like to be the quiet one in the room and have people mistake my silence for emptiness, or worse, dishonesty. Like, if I'm not performing my beliefs, I don't believe them at all. But one of my favorite verses I believe applies here. 1 Samuel 16:7, For the Lord sees not as man sees. For man looks on the outward appearance, but the Lord looks on the heart. So when I found these notes, I feel like Michael Jackson did his most deep spiritual work alone. That's where it matters. Not the outward performance, but the inward reality. That God looks at the heart. You don't have to perform what you believe. You find it in the quiet moments. You, your Bible, God, and a closed door. I recognize myself in that, and I think a lot of you will too. Now, I loved the movie, but it couldn't fully delve into his spiritual side. And it couldn't accurately portray that Michael was raised a Jehovah's Witness. Not only did Michael love and honor his mother Catherine very much, on his own, he went door to door, he studied, he believed, but after a certain point, he left. And leaving the Jehovah's Witnesses is not like leaving any old place. You don't just stop going, you lose everything. Your community, sometimes even your family. And the organization teaches that if you leave, you're walking away from the only people on earth that God is using. That's the weight of it. So what would make someone walk away from all that? This page, I believe, may have some of those answers. And we're going to walk through it line by line, because it tells a story that no biopic would have time to show you. To be completely honest, when I first looked at this page, I thought I knew exactly what I was seeing. But the deeper I went in, the more I realized this page has layers. Revelation 12:12. Satan is on earth. The Watchtower teaches that in 1914, an archangel named Michael cast Satan out of heaven and down to earth. And that's when the last days began. Everything wrong with the world traces back to this chapter. It's also where the verse references of Revelation chapter 6 verses 4 through 8 come in. The 4 horsemen. It's all one system. They also teach that the archangel Michael is Jesus. Same person, different name. Jesus is not God in their theology. He's a created angel, created being, and when he came to earth, he wasn't God in a human body, he was just a man. Remember those two things because it matters later. But next is the word obeisance, written and defined in Michael's own hand. If you've been a Jehovah's Witness, then this word probably made you feel something in your chest. See, in other Bible translations, when people fall at Jesus' feet, the word is translated as worship. But the Jehovah's Witnesses have their own translation, the New World Translation. And in their version, the same Greek word gets translated differently only when it's directed at Jesus. It becomes obeisance. Not worship, obeisance. Why? Because if people worship Jesus, he'd have to be God. And the entire system, 1914, the archangel, all of it falls apart. And Michael defined the word obeisance on this page. The act of bowing down, showing respect as to a king. This is almost word for word from a Watchtower publication. It's their own definition their own language. But then Michael did two things with it that I don't think any Watchtower study would include. He drew an arrow from the words false worship to the definition of obeisance. And across from the definition is 1 Corinthians 6:3. Even in the New World Translation, the verse reads, "Do you not know that we will judge angels? Humans will judge angels." Obeisance, by the Watchtower's own definition, is what you give Jesus, the archangel. But if humans will judge angels, doesn't that mean that humans outrank angels? And then there's Acts 10:26 written above. In that passage, a man named Cornelius falls at the Apostle Peter's feet and does obeisance. But Peter says, "Stand up. I myself also am a man." Peter refused obeisance from another man, both men, same rank, because that act of obeisance, worship, belongs to something higher than Peter. Now remember earlier about Jehovah's Witnesses theology, Jesus on earth, not God. I don't believe a witness teacher would ever connect them together, because they both point to the same direction, to a Jesus who is more than what Michael was taught. For Jesus to only be a man, by their own definition, he shouldn't be receiving obeisance. If he's an angel, why will he be judged by the very humans that his life saves? Acts 7:43, and next to it, two words, false worship. This verse comes from the story of Stephen, the first Christian martyr. Stephen stood before the most powerful religious authorities of his time, men who controlled access to God, who told people they were the only path to salvation, and he accused them of worshiping things instead of the Creator. But Michael put this on the same page as the arrow, Acts 10:26, 1 Corinthians 6:3, and suddenly that verse boomerangs. And if that's what Michael saw, then this isn't just a man who drifted away from his religion because he got famous or because he was too worldly for their rules. This is possibly a man who came to believe through his own study that the organization that raised him was guilty of the very thing it claimed to protect people from. And Revelation 3:9 would make this painfully clear. This is Jesus speaking about people who claim to be God's chosen people and are not, who say they have the truth and are lying. I can't tell you what Michael intended when he wrote every line on this page. Some of it may have been from study material he was given as a JW, but those two things on this page don't really belong in a JW lesson. They almost break the lesson. Usually, quiet people don't argue. They don't make a scene. They sit with their thoughts. They seek the truth. But this page isn't finished. There's a line drawn across the middle of this notebook, and below that line the tone changes completely. But what stays with me still the most is what I found at the very bottom of the page. Make sure you've joined and subscribed so you don't miss the conclusion. I'll see you then.